Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and many people have been asking me, should you pick up an iPhone Air or pick up an iPhone 17 Pro Max? Many people are undecided as they offer very different experiences, different materials, and more. So I thought I'd help you decide based off the overall display, battery life, cameras, and more in a full comparison. So the first thing is the price. The iPhone Air comes in at $999, goes up to $1,399, starts at 256 gigs of storage, and goes up to 1 terabyte. With the iPhone 17 Pro Max, it starts at $1,199, goes up to $1,999, starts again at 256 gigabytes of storage, but this time goes up to 2 terabytes. So similar storage options with the addition of 2 terabytes as an additional option. When it comes to colors this year, well, Apple has chosen basically what we've had in the past for the iPhone Air. We have this space black color that I have here, along with cloud white, liquid gold, and sky blue. With the iPhone 17 Pro Max, we have a little bit more bold colors this year and only 3 choices. We have cosmic orange, deep blue, and silver. So if you don't like any of those colors, I know many people have opted not to go with the phones just based on the colors, but if you put a case on it, of course, it's going to change that. When it comes to the build and the overall materials, this year this is probably one of the major deciding factors. Apple this year with the iPhone Air has kept the titanium frame, so that's how they've kept it thin but also rigid and kept it from bending, and you can see how thin the overall buttons are. It's 5.6 millimeters thin, but we have the same buttons with volume, our action button, and then around the top it's more traditional as far as the way the frame is. We've got things such as the power sleep wake button with our lines for the antenna, as well as camera control, but on the bottom is where it's a little bit different. We have USB-C that runs at just USB 2 speeds, which is a bit of a shame, but also we just have microphones on the bottom. There is no speaker here, and there's no stereo speakers. The only speaker is at the top above the camera. So built into the frame at the top of the glass is this one speaker that we get. While it's pretty good, we'll take a listen later, it may not be enough for you. Now with the iPhone 17 Pro Max, Apple has opted to go with aluminum this year, or aluminium depending on where you live. We have anodized aluminum. This is something they've done for many years, and they've changed the design. The antenna design is different, which I think is an advantage this time around, but we also have this huge camera plateau, as Apple calls it. So we've got a two-tone design with ceramic shield on the back, aluminum around the outside edge, and it's a unibody design that's all one piece. Of course, we've got the same thing we've had before with USB 3 speeds, as well as our speaker and microphone and everything else. So the overall build is very familiar, but the design is all new. One thing they've included on both phones, though, is Ceramic Shield 2 on the front and Ceramic Shield on the back. So Ceramic Shield 2 is 3 times more scratch resistant according to Apple, and the iPhone Air having Ceramic Shield 2 on the front and Ceramic Shield on the back along with titanium is supposedly Apple's most durable phone ever. So it should be very durable. Some people are complaining about scratches already in the anodized finish, and we're seeing that mostly around the corners on the camera plateau. I haven't seen this at all for myself. I've even bumped this into the MagSafe charger multiple times, just ran it over here. It does not scratch as easy as people are making it seem, but it definitely will scratch if you're not careful with it. So just keep that in mind. If you pick the silver color, you probably wouldn't see any scratches, but if you're careful about this, you probably won't see it either way. Now with the iPhone 17 Pro Max, depending on where you live around the world, you may have the option for a SIM card. The iPhone 17 Pro Max in the United States does not have a physical SIM card and has an eSIM, which means the battery is a little bit larger. We'll talk about battery life in a little bit, but with the iPhone Air, you only have the eSIM option. There is no physical SIM card, but this still should work around the world. So just keep that in mind if you're looking at both phones. Now, given the overall size, they're very different, of course, with the iPhone Air coming in about half the thickness, if you're not including the camera or the camera bump or camera plateau, it's about half the thickness of the 17 Pro Max. So you can see that side by side, it's very different as far as the thickness goes. But if you put them side by side with the camera bumps, they're fairly close in that sense. But when you hold them, they feel very different in the hand. Both are very comfortable. The iPhone Air feels more futuristic given its thinness. It feels more rigid, probably due to titanium and the polished edges. But the iPhone 17 Pro Max is very comfortable to hold with its curved edges, how they curve around the screen, and the overall feel, I think, is a little bit more comfortable. Some people, though, say it doesn't feel as durable. Of course, given the overall size, there's definitely a big weight difference. The iPhone Air comes in at 5.82 ounces or 165 grams, where the iPhone 17 Pro Max comes in at 8.22 ounces or 233 grams. Now, when it comes to the batteries this year, the iPhone Air has 3,149 milliamp hours. It's one of the smaller batteries we've seen in recent years, and it's good for 27 hours of video playback according to Apple. However, if you attach their battery pack, their MagSafe battery pack for the iPhone Air, it will get you up to 40 hours. However, now you're defeating the purpose of the thin phone, and now it's thicker than the iPhone 17 Pro Max, but it will get you more battery life overall. However, the iPhone 17 Pro Max has a huge battery at 5,088 milliamp hours, good for up to 39 hours of video playback. So basically, with the battery pack in the iPhone Air, you'll get 1 additional hour. Now, when I was using these full-time, I used each phone for an entire week full-time, and the iPhone Air did not last me through the day. Around 5 to 7 p.m., I found that I would typically end up charging it. So you'll see I had 67% battery usage and had 2 hours and 31 minutes of screen active time. The day before that, 2 hours and 45 minutes, using 108% of the battery. Typically, I was finding I was getting about 4 hours of screen active time throughout the day, throughout the week. Some people say that this should be better than that, but using the exact same setup, the exact same sort of use case, the iPhone 17 Pro Max easily got me through a day and about a day and a half. Again, if we go into battery, you'll see if we go back here, this day it used only 18% of the battery and had 1 hour and 44 minutes of screen active time. So that's just 18%. Got me almost what an entire battery did for the iPhone Air. So that was my use case. I tried it as my regular phone and I still liked it a lot, but it did not get me through the day. This also comes up to charging speeds. Charging speeds are definitely noticeably different. Now, with normal charging, if you're just using the charger plugged into the bottom of the phone, you'll find you'll get about 50% in 30 minutes in the iPhone Air. If you're using MagSafe, you'll find the speed to be about the same. So MagSafe is going to get you about the same speed, and you can also plug directly into the battery pack and then have it charge through the phone as well. However, with the iPhone 17 Pro Max, it charges much faster, so it will get to about 50% in around 20 minutes using a 40-watt or higher adapter. It also supports 25-watt MagSafe with Qi 2 compatible chargers, giving up to 50% in 30 minutes, again, with a much bigger battery. So it charges very fast, does a great job, and of course will last you a little longer. When it comes to the displays, really the only difference between them is their size. The iPhone Air has a 6.5-inch display, where the iPhone 17 Pro Max comes in at 6.9 inches. So that's pretty obvious. You can see that side by side. And the bezels appear to be slightly smaller, but that just could maybe be because you can see the frame on the outside as opposed to seeing the black frame on the iPhone Air. So that gives you an idea of the bezels. However, the overall specs are identical. They're both 460 pixels per inch. They both have an anti-reflective coating, which is nice. It helps reduce glare and overall reflections. And they also go up to 3,000 nits of brightness. So they're incredibly bright. In bright sunlight, they do a good job and hold that brightness even when it's hot outside for the most part. They both also have the PWM smoothing option. I've talked about this at length in my review videos, and it seems to work really well. That's found under accessibility, under display and text size, and scroll down and you'll see display pulse smoothing. It disables PWM or pulse width modulation at lower brightness levels, so it's not flickering the display faster or slower so that you perceive that as brightness or more dim. This is something that they do with OLED displays to control brightness and really bothers my eyes as well as 1 in 10 people. It can cause me to feel nauseated, also get headaches and eye strain, and with this turned on, I don't experience any of that whatsoever, no matter what the brightness level is. So some people are still having some issues, but I don't think it's related to PWM at this point. They're also both 120 Hz ProMotion displays, so you get the smoothness of 120 Hz. It ramps up and down as you would expect. So again, under accessibility, you can tell this by just going in here, going into motion, scrolling down, and you'll see we both have limit frame rate. So we can slow it down to 60 Hz, or if you put it in low power mode, it will do the same. And that's something that we find that really is very nice to use. Some people say it doesn't ramp up and down enough, but it is very smooth overall on both of these phones. Also, both of them, when I was using them for battery, one thing I didn't mention before, both of them were in adaptive power mode. So this should help with overall battery life just to see what it's like throughout the day. Now, when it comes to speed, that smoothness is helped with the new A19 Pro chipset. Both of them have that, as well as 12 gigs of RAM. So both have 12 gigabytes of RAM. But one thing I find is the new 17 Pro Max definitely stays cooler when it's doing intensive tasks. It has a new vapor chamber in it, and it sort of dissipates heat throughout the frame a lot better. You can see, of course, similar processors here with 12 gigs of RAM. And if we run benchmarks, I can show you the overall heat dissipation and how they manage that, because it's very different on both phones. So again, on the back here, you'll see how it's dissipating heat. I had to plug this in as the thermal camera needed additional power, but you'll see we're only at around 34 degrees Celsius, where on the iPhone Air, at the hottest point, we're around 40 degrees Celsius. So above 40 degrees Celsius in the hottest point. It really focuses the heat right around the camera plateau, where the iPhone 17 Pro Max just sort of spreads it out and it doesn't feel as warm. Now, you don't feel that heat when you're holding onto the phone, as it's mostly focused at the top, but it's definitely there. Now, because of the overall thermal design of both phones, you'll see that the benchmark scores are a little bit different despite the overall processor being the same. So we have 9,800 for multi-core on the 17 Pro Max, 9,321 for multi-core on the iPhone Air. Again, the same is true with single core at 3,852 compared to 3,670. So when you're doing different tasks, sustained performance is better on the 17 Pro Max. So whether that's recording a 4K 120 video or you're playing a video game, you're going to see a little bit of a difference there. It may have to ramp down some of the speed if it gets too hot in the iPhone Air. Now, if we go ahead and load a game such as Minecraft, we'll just load it to show you how it loads on both devices. It should be fairly similar, but you may see different results. So if we go and hit play on both, again, you'll see create new world. We'll do the exact same thing on both of them. And again, we'll tap create and give it a second and see which one finishes first. But again, that sustained performance is going to be better on the 17 Pro Max. Of course, you'll have more battery life as well when it comes to that. So if you're really focused on playing games, the 17 Pro Max should be a little bit better for that. But you'll see they both loaded at about the same amount of time, and the overall frame rates and everything should be very similar on very similar displays. Now, as I mentioned before, the iPhone Air only has one speaker, so I thought we'd compare the speakers so you can hear them. We'll listen to their tone and the overall sound and compare the loudness as well. So we'll start with the iPhone Air. So hopefully you could hear that. The iPhone Air seemed to be around 75 decibels on average, peaking around 80 decibels just from the top speaker. Of course, we only have that one speaker, but with the iPhone 17 Pro Max, we were at about 75 to 80 decibels at the top, up to 90 from the bottom speaker, which is noticeably louder. Of course, you have more of a stereo design and much deeper bass, and overall clarity and things just sound better on the 17 Pro Max. The speaker on the iPhone Air is okay, but if you really care about that, the 17 Pro Max would be the one to choose. Now, when it comes to the overall 5G, we have two different changes here. The iPhone 17 Pro Max is using the latest Qualcomm modem, where the iPhone Air is using Apple's new C1X modem, but no millimeter wave. I found the overall connectivity to be pretty good when I was using them. However, the iPhone 17 Pro Max typically would have 1 or 2 bars more in the same area as far as signal goes. So I noticed that basically anywhere I was. I know some people said that the iPhone Air was better, but in my specific instance, driving in areas with low signal, I found the 17 Pro Max was better and stayed connected, and I could still maybe stream music, listen to it without it cutting out. Now, we also have the new N1 modem. I find they basically perform the exact same on both devices with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and Thread, so no real differences there. And the good thing this time around is the forward-facing camera is identical on both phones with the exception of maybe some options here. So we have the exact same 18 megapixel camera that we can switch to landscape with. We've got center stage here, and then we can also use the ultra stabilized video as well. However, the rear cameras are obviously different. So on the rear, of course, if we switch over to video, spin this around, we of course have many more options. So we have 1x and 2x on the iPhone Air, and then we can zoom in a little bit further, so we can zoom into 6x. That's all we get with the iPhone Air. With the iPhone 17 Pro Max, of course, we have a lot more options. We have the ultra-wide camera, we have the wide camera, we have the telephoto zoom with 4 and 8x optical zoom, and then of course we can go even further, up to about 24 times zoom. So I thought we'd go ahead and compare these, show you what they look like, and also what the microphones sound like, as there's a little bit of a difference there. But also before we do that, keep in mind that the iPhone Air does not have the Pro Video formats. So for example, we have the options for HD and of course different frame rates and more. We have 4K at 60 frames per second. We've got the dual video mode as well, but we do not have the new options for ProRes RAW or any of those formats. So we don't have Pro RAW, ProRes RAW, or anything else. We just have the standard features that you get on the iPhone 17, but none of those additional features. Also, because we only have one camera, we don't have things such as the macro photography in video, we don't have spatial photos in video, or cinematic mode as well, or 4K 120. So just keep that in mind if you are wanting all of those features. They're only in the 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the cameras. So with the iPhone Air and the iPhone 17 Pro Max, you can see both of the cameras here. They both have the exact same 18 megapixel square sensored camera, so we can switch to things such as open gate and go into landscape. And again, here's the open gate sensor in landscape, and this gives you an idea of what it looks like, how it handles the background, pretty much the same since it's the same sensor, and also gives you an idea of the iPhone Air microphone compared to the iPhone 17 Pro Max microphone. And again, here's the front-facing cameras just in portrait mode. So I think it does a really great job this year, not only with the dynamic range in the background, but I love that you can crop into the sensor, record in landscape, and have portrait mode as well, depending on however you want to set it up. Now, both have the exact same IP rating, IP68, 6 meters for 30 minutes. And other than that, they're going to get the same software support, having the same processors and RAM, and be supported maybe until iOS 32 and beyond. So we'll have to wait and see what Apple does there, but I would expect the same support for many years to come. Now, it really comes down to which option is best for you based on whether or not you care most about battery life, screen size, and the cameras. If you want the most futuristic feeling phone that offers something a little bit different and maybe new and more premium feeling, well, the iPhone Air is the way to go when it comes to that. Every time you pick it up, you'll feel something that's different than what you've held for many years, and it just feels super premium being titanium. If you want something that has everything, has more than all-day battery life, and also has the best cameras, as well as the best charging speeds, well, then the iPhone 17 Pro Max is the way to go. However, the durability is a little questionable, but I think so far, at least for my use case, it's held up really well. But I think both of them are great phones, and the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the iPhone Air are both great options. But the iPhone Air may be half of next year's iPhone Fold. So that might be what they're going for here, to try and maybe get half of it and then bring the next half next year and connect them together. But let me know which one works best for you, if you picked either one of them, or maybe you're sticking with your iPhone 15 or something else. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.